Good morning. My name is Susan Wright, and I'm an architect from New York City. The Design for Aging Committee of the New York chapter, American Institute of Architects, was very happy to have been asked to present, and we would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. This presentation highlights senior housing built in the New York City metropolitan area over the past 5 years. The examples are all housing that was built with government assistance for low-income seniors. And I'll be sharing my experiences and those of other architect and designer members of our New York City chapter, members of our Design for Aging Committee. All of these projects include a social services component on site. More and more, the connection between housing and health is understood, and residential buildings directly linked to hospitals, medical centers, and community centers are being developed. Projects are designed to serve the residents of the building, but also to improve the services for the nearby community. The majority of these projects were developed by nonprofit companies, many with either a social equity or a religious mission. These apartments are highly sought after, with thousands of applicants for each unit. One example here is 67 apartments received 37,000 applications, and that is a ratio that's not unusual. I must say that working on affordable housing is not lucrative, but it's very rewarding. Every one of our members is committed to seeing healthy, safe housing built for those who deserve it. The USA is a country that is struggling with many issues of social, economic, and racial disparity. The production of affordable housing is one way we can help. All of these projects are 100% affordable. Housing that's built in the USA for middle and low-income people is defined by area median income levels. And these projects are all for residents earning a maximum of 30% to 60% of AMI. That would be $23,000 to $47,000 a year for seniors living alone. Most of these projects also required a set aside of roughly a third of the units for formerly homeless seniors. Two last comments about building in New York City. Our zoning allows for increased density for apartments designated for low-income seniors, that's 62 and older, and in exchange for providing some community space. So a low-income senior apartment in a residential neighborhood can be slightly larger than its neighbors. Operating costs are a serious consideration for housing, especially with low-income tenants and nonprofit developers. The New York City Energy Code is updated every 3 years, and each time is a little more stringent about energy savings. However, developers and architects are voluntarily improving on the energy efficiency of their building. The projects you're going to see today were completed over a period of 3 to 4 years, but even in that short time frame, you'll see significant changes in decisions about energy efficiency. Many of the projects are either certified or follow passive house principles, which embrace a highly efficient construction that is also very comfortable for the occupants. It's not yet required by code, but many of these projects are designed to meet the standards. You'll see an example of the largest passive house building in the United States built for seniors, and a project that approaches net zero design. Passive house projects have a highly efficient building envelope. They use energy recovery systems for mechanical and have fresh air supplied to the units. The energy efficient windows have an added benefit of acoustical privacy. Our experience in New York City with COVID has certainly highlighted the importance of healthy living. And coupled with the impact of climate change, in my opinion, this type of efficient construction will soon be the norm, even if code doesn't require it. The city of New York is made up of 5 boroughs. We're going to visit 3 of them today. We'll start in the Bronx with 3 sites. We'll travel down to Brooklyn to visit 2 sites, and then finish up in Queens with the final 2 projects. This project is located in the Mott Haven neighborhood of the Bronx. It was developed by the nonprofit West Side Federation for Senior and Supportive Housing. There's an existing building in the center of the site that was built in the 1980s, and 2 new towers on the west and east added apartments and additional services to the site. At the street level, the three buildings are linked. In the west building, there's a 4,500 square foot medical space, 1,300 square foot pharmacy, and social services offices. The three buildings are linked. In the east building, there's 4,000 square feet of community space, and this original 1980 building has the original community space. There is a circular drive that was added at the front, along with a canopy, to improve the ability to wait for taxis. This is the original 1980 building, which was built as a HUD 202. It's a federal housing program for seniors. When Brinkman Court was renovated in 2011, new mechanical systems, new windows, renovation of 145 apartments were done with the tenants living in place. The new canopy and the circular drive allow residents to wait safely for taxis without having to go out into the street. The two new buildings are called Tres Puentes, which means three bridges, after the bridges over to Manhattan that are visible from this site. This west building is 11 stories high and has 112 units. At the street level on the corner, you can see the new medical center, and the pharmacy is on the opposite corner. The building is located on the corner of 3rd Avenue, which is a major shopping street in the Bronx, and East 138th Street. The building site is slightly triangular and follows a main avenue of 3rd Avenue on the left side of the plan. The east building has 8 stories, 55 units, and an additional 4,000 square feet of senior center space on the first floor. This end of the site used to be a parking lot for Brinkman Court, which was underutilized. In this street level plan of the east building, you can see one of the 4 gardens that were added on the first floor with hardscape and green spaces for the residents and the community center. This project was developed by the nonprofit Help USA, which was originally formed in the 1980s to help homeless New Yorkers. Help partnered with SAGE, which is an advocacy group and service provider for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender seniors. In addition to providing 84 residential units, this building has a LGBT-oriented senior center on the first floor, which serves the building residents as well as serving the community. On the first floor, you can see that the residents enter their lobby through the corner and that the senior center is entered from the side street. Most of the first floor is senior center usage. There's a computer room, a wellness nurse, a library, classrooms, a kitchen, and a large commons space. There are garden spaces on the first and second floor, which can be used by the residents as well as the center members. On the residential floors, a small seating area is provided at each elevator lobby. At the top floor, there's a rooftop garden that's provided for the building residents. There's also community room and laundry room next to this outdoor space. Roughly 60% of the units in the building are studios, and so an alcove design was developed to allow a little bit of additional privacy for sleeping area. Rather than creating 2 rectangular units, they interlink. The next 2 projects are built within an existing public housing campus. The New York City Housing Authority, or NYCHA, is the largest public housing agency in the US, and it's also the largest landlord in New York City. 1 out of 15 New York City residents live in NYCHA apartments, and these apartments represent 8% of the rental housing in New York City. On average, 40% of NYCHA residents are senior citizens. Most of the NYCHA apartments are on campuses that have 10 to 20 buildings. These campuses were built in the 1940s through the 1960s, and this was an era when towers in the park approach was popular. Tall towers surrounded by open space are good in some aspects, but unused open space can be unsafe. In 2014, a series of RFPs have sought development teams to provide new housing on the site of NYCHA buildings, and Some of them specifically addressed senior housing. There was a community engagement process with existing residents to identify the kind of amenities that each campus needed or preferred. And in addition to providing available land and permanently affordable housing, these developments then help fund repairs on the existing buildings. The NYCHA Soundview campus is roughly 11 hectares, and it has 13 buildings with 1,300 apartments. This campus was completed in 1954. 17% of the units are currently occupied by single seniors. And the site for the new development is open land and underutilized parking lot space on the campus. The development team is building 3 buildings in phases. The first building is an 8-story building with 120 apartments built for families, and that's shown on the left in the rendering. The second building in the middle is an 8-story senior housing with 86 apartments here. And then the third phase is a home ownership model with attached townhouses that's scheduled to start construction later this year. The senior building has 86 one-bedroom units on 8 floors, and there are community spaces for the residents on the first floor. You enter the building here, and there's a lounge on this side, and then on the opposite side is a community room and laundry. A community room opens to a garden that is shared between the family and the senior buildings. Lounge space near the building entry. This project was completed in 2017 and has a nice south-facing and west-facing windows are provided with a sun shading detail. This project is located in Brooklyn. The NYCHA Sumner campus is roughly 9 hectares. It has 13 buildings and 1,100 apartments. This campus was completed in 1958. 20% of the units are occupied by seniors living alone, and the site for the new development is currently green space. The Atrium at Sumner project was awarded to a team of 3 entities, including 2 nonprofits. Nonprofit Self-Help Community Services has their main campus in Queens, and we'll see one of their built projects in a few minutes. The nonprofit Riceboro Community Partnership was founded in Brooklyn and provides social services to over 20,000 New Yorkers. Riceboro built the first 100% affordable passive house apartment building in the United States. The third team member is Urban Builders Collaborative, which is the development arm of Latier Construction, who's a builder of affordable housing. In siting the building entries face plazas rather than facing the street in order to better link the building to the existing buildings on the campus. The interior plan is laid out around a 9-story atrium, which is an unusual typology for American housing. It means that every apartment door will have a view of the sky and that cross ventilation is improved. You can see here the glass-topped atrium roof and the solar panel arrays up on the roof. This building has a striking facade with monolithic slope surfaces that are designed to break down the building mass. The building actually folds and slopes inward at the base to widen at the street plazas where the entries are. In this view of the north corner, you can see the entrance to the 7,500 square foot community center. The center has a performing arts auditorium, classrooms, and a medical care office, and takes up about half of the first floor. On the south side of the site is a plaza with the entrance to the residential building. There's a 2-story high entrance underneath the overhang. And at the street, there's a meeting room and social services offices for the residents. On the 2nd through 10th floor, there are 180 apartments. The street level plan on the left shows the community center entry from the North Plaza at the top of the plan and the residential entry from the South Plaza. Social services, office, and meeting spaces for the residents are next to the building entry. The plan on the right is the 2nd floor plan. It shows the interior winter garden at the base of the atrium. There are 2-story high spaces here and here that allow a view down to the building entries. Off of the Winter Garden is a library and community room, laundry, exercise room for use of the building residents. This next project is only a few blocks from Sumner Houses. The nonprofit developer is Southside United Los Shores, which was founded in the 1970s to fight displacement in the South Williamsburg neighborhood of Brooklyn. Their Rheingold Senior Housing Project is a 94-unit residence for seniors, and it's just started construction. The design is a passive house construction and has a rooftop level urban farm designed for hydroponic farming. There's a solar array to provide some on-site power. This project was recently awarded $750,000 from New York State to recognize the significance of the energy-saving elements in the design. The energy use intensity, basically energy use per square foot of this building, is less than half that of a typical apartment building in New York City. And the rate of carbon use per square foot is 1/4. The site was a bit difficult because of the lot. The lot is shallower on one portion, shallower than typical. So the architect developed a plan with a single loaded corridor on one side, and then on the other portion, a more typical double loaded corridor with apartments on either side. It's hard to tell from the drawing, but to encourage the use of the stairs, they're designed to be shallower than required by code. So they're easier to use. And also one facade of the stair is finished with glass to allow natural light in. All of this to encourage use of the stair. We're now in Queens, in the Corona neighborhood. This project was developed by the nonprofit Hellenic American Neighborhood Action Committee, or HANAC, who was founded in 1972 to provide a range of social services for youth and seniors, including adult literacy and workforce training. This site was previously in use, it was vacant land, but it was in use as a community garden. And so money had to be raised to replace the garden as part of the work that was done to build the project. Corona Gardens has 67 units on 8 floors. When it was completed 2 years ago, it was the largest passive house senior housing building in the United States. And it has features such as triple glazed windows and high efficiency envelope. There are social services offices located adjacent to the resident lobby. In addition to social services for the residents in the neighborhood, the program concept for Corona Gardens is intergenerational. There's a resident lobby on the left and a kindergarten entrance is on the right. The first floor plan shows the kindergarten in blue and the residents to the left of it. The seniors have a garden space in the rear yard and the children have a garden space in the rear yard, and they are intentionally adjacent to each other. The building sets back at the 5th floor, which allowed for a small roof garden for the residents next to a laundry room and a community lounge. Our last project today is located in Flushing, where there's a campus of 6 residential buildings, a senior center, and a medical office. They are operated by Self-Help Community Services. Self-Help was founded in 1939 and provides social services, including home health aides, to 20,000 New York City seniors. The new 15-story residential tower provides 92 new units for seniors. The 3-story community health center is built forward of the building at the street wall. Since the construction of this 19-story building in 1968, the zoning had changed to allow more density. And the original site was also designed with a large paved garden in front that was not used at all. A green space in the rear was able to be retained. There's 60 feet of clearance between the 2 buildings here. And the community health center is in the front at the street level. The new residential entrance is here, and the community health center is here. In order to fit on the narrow site, the building has a single loaded corridor. So all of the apartments either face the rear yard, the courtyard, or the front. And there's a tenant roof deck on the roof of the community health center that provides some green space. Thank you so much for listening. I'm ready for questions.